Welcome to WrestleWolf. This is AEW Weekly. I'm Dr. Damian Gibson, and joining me, as always, is the man who only deals in kayfabe and nothing else. It's Matthew Kayfabe.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm very well. You're being very polite.
I'm glad to hear that. Your well-being matters to me.
Okay. That feels rehearsed. But anyway, should we talk about wrestling? Because there's quite a bit of wrestling to talk about these days now that we're sort of including Impact.
Look, if you want to talk about wrestling, that's fine. Mm-hmm. If you want to talk about Billy Joel, also fine. I've got a little Billy Joel alert, and that's that I talk about Billy Joel to enough people that anytime anyone sees anything with Billy Joel, they immediately alert me. Yeah. And I just got told today that apparently in the new Stand TV show, they use The Stranger by Billy Joel at the end of the first episode. So look out for that, wrestling fans, if you happen to be watching that show.
I was watching an episode of Legends of Tomorrow, DC's The Legends of Tomorrow. And
Did that have Joel in it?
Yeah, Billy Joel was mentioned because it's a time-traveling show, a bunch of superheroes who time travel, and they went back in time to visit Ray Palmer as a kid, and it was 1988, and his favourite singer was Billy Joel, which I think was meant to show that Ray Palmer was a nerd. I'm sorry, man.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but he had a couple... Is it Nylon Curtain? Is that a Billy Joel album?
If there is, I haven't heard of it. But
anyway, that was the album in question.
All apologies.
Impact, not a huge amount to really write home about. I don't think with Impact. It sort of was one of those wrestling, one of those episodes of wrestling, kind of like Dynamite the week before, where it just sort of felt like they were running on a treadmill. Like not really anything progressed that much. And
I mean, we did get a World Heavyweight Championship announcement.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I wanted to talk about. Is this the nicest storyline in wrestling history where Rich Swann is offering Tommy Dreamer a championship match because it's his 50th birthday? And does it immediately take all the air out of the match announcing that Tommy Dreamer's 50?
One, Rich Swann is incredibly charismatic, and I love watching him speak, and I love his theme music. It is probably the greatest theme in wrestling at the moment. Two,
it's very good. It's very good, but there's a couple of others that are amazing.
You just like the FTR song and the Cody song before Snoop all dirtied it up for you.
It's actually Jungle Boy's theme song, of course.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty amazing.
It's still not as good as the sort of Rick James 1980s of 1970s maybe of Rich Swann. I nearly called him Rick James. That's bad. They make me not want to watch the pay-per-view, which is problematic when the pay-per-views are so expensive and not part of your Impact Plus membership.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to see Tommy Dreamer wrestle ever, and I definitely don't want to see him in a world title match. And I definitely don't want, to pay for that. No,
that's... I feel like we've been a bit harsh on Impact the last few weeks. Every time we sort of mentioned them, it's been in a negative light, kind of. But that, having to pay Australian an additional $25 for a pay-per-view roundabouts, on top of the $15 a month that Matt and I are already paying for Impact Plus, when you look at, you've either got to go the WWE network route, which is it's WWE can charge that little because they're WWE, but everything's either got to be inclusive like Honor Club, or it's way cheaper, and then you pay for the pay-per-views on top of that, like Dynamite or like AEW.
Yeah.
Having a premium monthly cost and then also the pay-per-views on top of that. I mean, I worked it out quickly because I'm a giant tight ass. It was essentially going to cost about $350 a year to watch everything of Impact, which was what did we work it out to be? About $150, $200 more expensive than the next.
Yep.
Than the next promotion, which I think was AEW.
No, I don't know. I thought AEW was cheaper than.
Actually, sorry, it was Honor Club,
Yeah.
and then New Japan, then AEW, and then WWE was the cheapest.
Yeah.
But I mean, they can do that. Anyway, what I did enjoy on this Impact was seeing Brian Myers, Matt Cardona have their first interaction. Maybe there's a feud there. That could be interesting to see those guys feud, seeing they're like, you know, essentially a couple. The way that they interact. I mean, they don't do anything without the other one. So it would be interesting to see them have like a feud on Impact, I think.
I mean, I don't think I've ever thought of Brian Myers and interesting in the same sentence, but yes.
I think you're being, but I when someone is completely underutilized for 15 years, yeah, it's probably hard to see them in any kind of position other than being shit. But I don't know. I think they're like when you see them interact outside of WWE, they're pretty entertaining and stuff.
You just like him because he was trained by Mikey Whipwreck.
Well, yeah, and I liked him before that, but that made me like him even more. Rosemary got a win over Tenille Dashwood. That's a quality feud, I think.
Yes.
I know the Firefest parody was meant to be awful, but it was also actually awful.
Also, very not like of the top. Like AEW has a pay-per-view named after Firefest, which is like lame of itself, but like doing the Firefest parody, like has someone just watched that documentary?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it
3 years ago?
Is wrestlers' favorite documentary this one? Is it the only one wrestlers have ever seen?
It's not good.
And why is it being passed around the locker room so slowly, where everyone's like, 3 years later, like, oh man.
On the subject of great, we might have spoken about this before. On the subject of great documentaries that could be great in wrestling, Werner Herzog from Grizzly Man would be a great manager in wrestling.
He really would.
Just a nihilist who's, constantly like, he saw joys in the bear, but I just see disinterest and death. I'm not trying to do his accent.
You Americans come here to escape the idea of death with your Coca-Cola and giant
They should
dogs.
They should pitch, because Werner Herzog does weird shit. They should just pitch him to be Walter's manager and, make it really weird.
It's not a bad idea. I think he would more likely show up on AEW rather than WWE if he did some research into both companies.
If Werner Herzog finally comes to wrestling, as so many people have been calling for years.
Rumble's happening on Monday.
I agree. It's more likely he goes to AEW. Oh my god, that would be
10, 9, 8. You think you know me?
Very good.
James Storm and Chris Sabian are a tag team now, completely because their other tag team partners are not on Impact.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, Beer Money aren't there, and the Motor City Mania. Gee, why do I have so much trouble with this tag team name?
She just called them the Motor City Maniacs?
Yeah. Machine Guns. God damn it. It's that bloody Sloan song. I can't get it out of my head. Anyway, both of those tag teams, there's only one of them. So TNA literally just put them together and they're a tag team now. And also, they're in the title picture. They haven't had to... They've wrestled one match, lost it, but they're in the title picture because of who they are.
Yeah. Great.
Anyway, and then there was a four-man tag team, the good guys versus bad guys. The good guys won. Yeah, it was a pretty forgettable episode of Impact. Private Party did a little segment with Big Money Matt. There was the TK and Tony promo, which is always good. TK's starting to get slightly more manic every week. Have you noticed that?
Yes. Yeah, I think, Rich Swann was the best thing. Ace Austin was good as always.
That's right. Yeah, no, he was great. Yeah.
I don't understand how there can be a serious wrestler in 2021 called Crazy Steve with an extra Z.
I don't know if Crazy Steve is a serious wrestler, dude.
Well, he's not like mucking around. He's with the zombie woman.
Rosemary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time you could do such a great storyline. Like, this is a Bray Wyatt style storyline where she's this supernatural villain and then, like, something happens and she goes back to being a normal person and she comes out to the that song, Love Grows Where My Rosemary Goes. And she's just, like, this really positive person who's been freed from the demon. Anyway, that's just an idea. If that
Isn't that happening with Susan at the moment? Wasn't she someone else and now she's like a different character and now she's a super serious character, but she wasn't a super serious character?
But I can't, like, I don't know, is she going to come out to Susie Q or, like, Suzanne by Leonard Cohen? That's not Susan, but...
No, it's not.
Lou Reed has a...
Oh, God. Yeah. What a pop that would get from the boys coming out to Leonard Cohen.
I think So Long Marianne is a great song to hype you up.
What's the first We Take Manhattan, then We Take Berlin when Leonard did his new wave
exactly
stuff?
What that's called, and it's fucking sick, and I'm not going to
It's a
hear
great
bullshit
song.
about it.
I'm just saying, Leonard went away for a long time and he came back and he was new wave.
I just think that you're shitting on the work of Edison Lighthouse with Love Grows. And, maybe you need to consider your future on this podcast that you started and do most of the work for. In fact, all of the work for.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that I don't inherently hate myself and like think about firing myself on a daily basis. Maybe I should just stop and let Matt do it. He's the charismatic one. All right, we're at Dynamite. Let's get into it. Butcher and the Blade. Now, look, what have I done here? Okay, yeah, Butcher and the Blade. So. Let's start this match again. Butcher and the Blade at the end of this match beat up Jake the Snake to cause a distraction for the Bunny to hand Eddie Kingston knuckle dusters in his match against Lance Archer. He knocks Lance Archer out and gets the pin. Before I throw to you and ask you what you think about this, I assume this is just a lack of communication between the boys and the comms desk. But it was very apparent at the beginning of this match that Eddie Kingston said to Jake, I don't want to murder Hawk. I don't want Jake at the side of the ring and send him backstage, which was his whole plan because then Butcher and the Blade were going to beat the shit out of him. But the comms guys did not tell that story at all. This is my usual having a go at JR or whatever. They just all three of them didn't know what was happening. So, because it just, I mean, it doesn't really it doesn't detract from the story that much, but it just helps Eddie Kingston look like even more of an evil mastermind when he's doing stuff like that. But anyway.
Well, I think obviously they're going to start trying to get Lance Archer over as a face.
Yeah.
This was fine. I don't think it really did anything for either of them, but I like Butcher, Blade and Bunny and Eddie, and Lance Archer's good in the ring, so it was cool.
I think they're the right balance as far as a faction is concerned, stable is concerned now. Like you've got your singles guy, your tag team, and female wrestler. I think that's probably a pretty good mix for.
Well,
for a stable.
I don't know if Ali's injured or something, but it seems a bit like she hasn't wrestled for AEW. I don't think has she.
She wrestled against. There's all that Brandy stuff,
but they didn't wrestle, did they?
Yeah, they wrestled a couple of tag team matches. I think. Okay, didn't they?
I can't remember. I remember that before Dynamite launched, there was that was the original women's feud was Ali and Brandy. But I can't remember any matches. But either way, she hasn't wrestled for a very long time on Dynamite, if at all. And so maybe she's injured, but if they're just not putting her in the women's division, it seems unfathomable that they wouldn't have her in as a regular wrestler because she's great, but then they don't have Big Swole in regularly, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I just wanted to point out Kingston's bump on the ring edge was brutal. Lance Archer's moonsault after walking across the ropes, Undertaker style, was phenomenal. And I have one little gripe from this episode. An episode I really enjoyed, especially after last week where I was so sort of like, whoa. I thought this was a really solid episode that I enjoyed pretty much everything on it. But the AEW refs, I've watched a little bit of WWE in the last couple of weeks in the build up to the Royal Rumble, and I don't notice their referees at all. But AEW referees I notice a lot, and there's a lot of like mime shit going on of like, you know, Macaulay Culkin like, oh no kind of stuff. It's just not. And it's not just Aubrey. I know Aubrey cops a lot of shit for it, but it's not just her. It's all of them. And it's really distracting. It's not their job to sell what the boys and girls are doing in the ring. It's a very small gripe, but it just looks super unprofessional to me. I just, you know, not to get too Jim Cornette about it.
Yes.
But it just, you know, like they fixed up all the tag team rules from last week that we were bitching about. So that was my little... That was my only little gripe this week. Although JR will get a couple of mentions. I'll come to that.
Oh, good.
I'll come to that in a second. Well, I've got a new little segment for our AEW episodes I haven't told you about yet.
Oh,
so
cool.
Once we get to it, yeah. Anyway, we've got a Jon Moxley promo. John likes to have sex in the morning. When do you like to have sex, Matt?
The time does not bother me, Damien. The time does not bother me.
I've never thought about that. I mean, maybe beggars can't be choosers, you know what I mean? But I don't have a preference as to when Congress happens.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the one thing is his argument was that if you have sex in the morning, then you start the day off with a positive. My argument is that
true.
like if you have sex at night, then you can just like go to sleep afterwards and like it's just a nice way to end the day.
I mean, it is a nice way to. Like, it's a nice. It's a.
If you know what, middle of the day,
lunch. It's
better than lunch.
It's it's a nice way to end an afternoon. It's a nice way to end a shower. It's a nice, like it's just nice. You could say the same thing about pizza as well, Mox. I like to eat my pizza in the morning because you start. That's my motto. I eat my pizza in the morning because I like to start my day right.
I just like knowing that, Jon Moxley's child was conceived in the morning.
I know, that's exactly what I thought as well. I instantly thought, like, Renee's got a pretty good sense of humour, so I don't think she'd care too much. But I instantly thought of Renee watching this going, for fuck's sake.
No matter what, it's like, it's a bit of a, like, Reddit I have sex thing. Like, it's like, no, there's no way to make it like, there's ways to make it less cool. Like if Jon Moxley was like, I like to have sex in a park during school drop-off. And it's like, what? Like that's less cool.
With Renee, right?
Doesn't matter who it's with, it's who's watching that matters to him.
Well, it does. Really does.
But like there's not very many ways. Like it's a bit like, yeah, cool man, Jon Moxley has sex. Like
Yeah, I know.
And I imagine a lot of wrestling fans
but
are
it's
like,
also really dorky as well.
Fuck him.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. No need to fucking gloat about it, mate.
It's a bit like people like, comment like, occasionally you see like women on Facebook make jokes about like, men can't, I'm sick of these young men who, don't know how to make a woman come or something. And then like there's always some dude that slides in like, haha, lucky my girlfriend doesn't have that problem. Last night she came twice. And it's like, what? Yeah, cool, man. No one was fucking asking you.
It never happened. It's an imaginary situation that this guy's talking about.
The man's a scam bot. It's got...
Speaking of scam bots, next up we had Sting and Darby Allin cut a promo where they show how tough they are. So they smash a bunch of windows with their toy of choice. Darby with a skateboard and Sting with a baseball bat.
Once again, this is better than like Darby being like, "Hi, my name's Darby Allin, and this is me jumping through a window," and then like jumping through a window, and then Johnny Knoxville like doing a piss on him and Darby drinking it for a joke. Like this, like if they're going to be like super serious goths, like whatever, that's fine. I don't think they need to pretend that they're like tough street thugs. Like I think Darby was like a street kid. I think he was homeless. Yeah. Like, maybe play up a bit on that. Like, Sting's a 60-year-old man who has been very wealthy for at least the last 40 years. Maybe 35. It's like, wow, Sting hit really fucking hard times between his TNA and WWE runs.
Yeah, if you're... yeah, no, God, imagine that, seeing Sting begging in the street. All you need to do is just take this back a week and get Taz to say a different word. Like... you know, psychos or, you know, something like that.
That could have been
like
a fucking great promo. Just have, like, Sting and Darby Allin surrounded by stuffed birds at the Bapes Motel and Tony Schiavone comes in.
Or weirdos, you know what I mean? Like, that's what... like, ultimately, the Team Taz are, like, a bunch of, like, tough, like, hey, like, look at me over here, I'm a tough guy kind of group. And they're like the normal guys who should be calling out Sting and Darby for being weirdos and like, you know, look at these fucking grungy weirdo morons over here. You know what I mean? Like, and then you can play, then like, you know, they can do the Michael Keaton in Batman, like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts thing.
I think I would prefer it if Taz had have called them like incels or virgins or something, just so we could weave together the storylines and have them be like, Sting be like, I'm married. And I have sex with my wife with, you know...
Why is everyone talking about having sex with their wife?
And Darby Allin's like, you know, I'm not married at the moment because I was married to Priscilla Kelly, but that means I have more opportunity to have casual sex with people I meet in a COVID-safe scenario. And then they smash windows. They smash windows with condoms and blue chews and stuff.
Yep. I hope you're listening, TK. This is how you.
This is wait till we get to the main event and my views on how they could have improved that by including. Anyway.
Next up, we've got a match. Jericho hits the Judas effect and then a lion salt on Brian Pillman Jr. from the Varsity Blondes to get the win for himself and MJF. What do we think of this? Fine.
Like, it's, you know, I like the Varsity Blondes. I don't think they need to be, like, winning matches at the moment. You know, I think it's good exposure and, like, good practice for Brian Pillman Jr. for when he's, like, little L-I-L apostrophe loose cannon in a couple of years. And, like, you know...
And Griff Garrison as well. He's got some potential.
There's so many people with potential at the moment. He could be Big Jungle Boy. Little Loose Cannon and Big Jungle Boy. And, like, you know, the story's obviously that MJF and Chris Jericho are going to go for the tag team titles and probably lose, and then the Inner Circle's going to break up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a bit of interesting Inner Circle work going on at the moment. They need MJF and Jericho need to change that theme immediately. Like, I know they want both of it, like, they, you know, to be represented equally, but it just sonically, those two songs do not go together. I know that they've tried to, like, it's been shoved in against each other, but it's actually like, it hurts my head. Also, guys in the crowd singing the last line twice again. Yes, I can't handle it. I'm getting Larry David about it. I don't know if MJF announcing that he needed to speak to Sammy at the beginning of the match was, like, cool either. It was just weird. Strange. It was just like that felt forced as well. I've got a lot of problems with this with this match. Varsity Blondes are great. I love I love them. I love their ring gear. Like, I haven't talked about ring gear for a bit, but they look so fucking like a tag team. And I think they do. They really do. And I think the difference for me for this week compared to last week is that the people that they used in, you know, what you traditionally would call the jobber spot are actually really good. You know, and I don't want to be too much of an arsehole to people like Peter Avalon and stuff like that, but like the difference between a Brian Pillman Jr. and a Peter Avalon is palpable, and it was easy to see when they were both sort of highlighted in episodes back to back. And I think AEW just needs to do more of that, just play their best players all the time. I know that they're trying to give people opportunities and all that kind of thing, but I don't know, man. I don't see Peter Avalon being anything other than a, you know, enhancement talent on Dark. And I feel bad saying that because I've never gotten a ring myself, but, you know, from a fan's point of view, I'm just not interested. And then seeing Garrison and Pillman, like, that's two young stars who are going to be a tag team for a long time, probably. And they're really good in ring. And there was a moment in this match where I actually thought Pillman was going to win, which they've done a great job. They've got, like, someone who's watched thousands of hours of wrestling to fucking mark out on a 2 count. Yep. That's well done. You know, like, that Lion Salt by Jericho was 100% for Jim Cornette.
I mean, he also botched one and landed on his head last week, so I hated it.
But that Lion Salt this week and looking directly at the camera and smiling in that sort of like angry way was 100% for Cornette, right? Next up, we've got a Pac promo. Kenny Omega's walking around like he's Billy Big Bollocks, and Pac isn't happy about it.
Yep, it's great. I can't wait to see Kenny Omega and Pac. I mean, I would sort of rather once the Darby Allin Sting thing's done to see Pac going for that title, but you know, there's a bit of time left in that, so maybe that'll be, you know, I hope Pac gets the opportunity to be the world champion of AEW at some point. Like, who knows? Because there's such a pipeline of incredible people. But yeah, he's great. He's so enjoyable.
Yeah. I was just thinking, could we here at WrestleWolf start a GoFundMe page to get Pac a new TV?
I mean, we could, and we will.
I mean, even if we just get one from Aldi or something, you know what I mean? Like that's got to be a strain on his eyes to have to watch like his wrestling tapes on a 12-inch CRT black and white television. I think we should get him a projector.
All right, I think that's probably the way of the future. He can watch movies. I reckon he'd like Taxi Driver. He'd be like a Lost Highway. I reckon he'd like Blue Velvet. Yeah.
Deer Hunter.
All the fun ones.
Yeah. The family movies. He'd be at the old Blockbuster, he'd be going straight to the family section to
weird
hire
vibe
stuff.
I get from Impact that like a lot of the storylines on Impact, not just one of them, but a lot of them have a bit of Deliverance about them. Like the Joe Doring fellow and Eric Young and the cousin Jake and the like, there's just James Storm. James Storm has a lot of delivery. Like, if he started entering to like on a ukulele, I mean, if it was on a ukulele, that'd be even sicker. Whatever.
Or a bad joke.
Anyway, that's my feeling.
No, you're right. There's something not quite right about Impact, which is what I love about it, but also it turns me off the product at times as well. It's
the kind of place where if you had to like stay somewhere a night and you drove in, you'd get bad vibes, and the bad vibes might be enough for you to just be like, you know what, I'm just not going to do this. I think like they've probably got cameras in the room, or someone's watching me, or like the guy has his dead mother on a hill above the motel. Like,
someone is watching you. It's who's the guy who's got his little mobile phone that keeps turning the lights on and off all the time? Sammy Callahan. He's got Google lights set up all over the place. What a terrible
gimmick that is. What a confusing gimmick. It's like, oh, he's a tech nerd, and he also just like loves getting hit with barbed wire.
Yeah, he's a tech nerd who's also into like completely being like death matches.
Can he turn the lights off on all Eddie Edwards segments? But
ultimately, his tech nerdery is that he's gone around and put a whole bunch of smart globes into the building at Impact, and he can turn them on and off whenever he wants. I haven't seen any other. I haven't seen, and even then, he still has to pull out his mobile phone. Like, all you have to do to defeat him is to grab his mobile off him and snap it in half.
I reckon I would be into Sammy Callahan in a moment if he had have turned the lights off for the Cody Rhodes and Shaquille O'Neal segments on AEW Dynamite.
Oh wow, yeah, well, you know what? That's oh man, I said I enjoyed everything on this episode, and I kind of. Let's get into it. Shaq on the AEW awards? What the fuck is this? Stealing our gimmick? I mean, we're the only one who gives out awards in the wrestling industry. No one else does that at all.
Also, Arn Anderson opened his promo by saying he was going to ramble. And, like, I believe you should do what you say and all that kind of stuff. But then he started rambling, and I was like, does he realise this is live television? All for Red Velvet to come out.
He went for a really long time. Yeah, and even then, like, his points, mate, like, what was his point? His point was like, oh, you know, I saw Dusty wrestle a match, and then he, like, got on a private plane to see you born, and then, like, your baby's not being born for a long time, but still, you should consider being in this match.
I tell you, son, if you get to that 20-week scan and your child has significant disability, then that's a matter for you and Brandy to decide. No one should be able to judge you, and I believe that, you know, if you decide you don't think that you can handle that, then that's up to you, and if you can, well, then you are a hero and great for you. But, you know, that's something you'll find out at 20 weeks, so don't worry about that for now. Anyway, here's Red Velvet, the cake girl.
Once the baby's born, I mean, initially your instinct's going to be wanting to be around it all the time, but eventually you're going to need to get a babysitter involved because you need your own time as well. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Red Velvet.
Her gimmick is
Arn Anderson starts his own blog on Mamma Mia about parenting.
I'm just glad that he's, like, pretty comfortable with abortion. Like, I think that's really cool of him for someone his age to be that, like, you know, open about
True. True. I think out of all the old boys, Arn's probably most likely to just be like...
Jake Roberts probably has some pretty positive views about it.
Yeah. What the fuck was Shaq on? What's the AEW awards? And why was he hosting them?
Because I'm going to run through who won the AEW awards. It was on Bleacher Report.
Cool. Well, I had...
Yeah,
of course
it's not worth watching, but we'll run through it. Also, I don't want to see Shaq and Cody wrestle.
I do. It's a car crash, and I can't look away.
And you know what? Instead of Red Velvet, why weren't they like? And we've got Medusa, and like just like get some big famous female.
Yes,
like someone. I'm pro having famous, like you know. I don't think everything has to be a, you know. I think getting young talent up, as we will talk about soon, is a very, very good thing. But also, like, they haven't built Red Velvet at all. And just, like, this is the kind of match where you can have, you know, some famous person. Because it's a Shaq match. It's not like people are going to come away from this and be like, that Red Velvet, she really got something. You already got Jade Cargill.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like they've looked around the locker room and found the person who looks most like Brandy.
Like, surely there's like they could have got. I mean, it's not as exciting, but Jazz is like doing a like thing in TNA sort of. Like Jazz is cool, or just like get Taya Valkyrie, or it's like one of those big TNA people. Get Donna Perazzo, get Tennille Dashwood. Like just get some, you know, known commodity, even if it's an indie person. Is Sarah Del Rey still a... Oh, she works for WWE, doesn't she? She's a trainer. That would be sick. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, this is also the segment where I want to introduce my new segment. This has been getting workshop for a little bit. So instead of just like ranting about JR every week, last week I made the declaration that I wasn't going to like hang shit on him. I was just going to point out the dumb things that he said. But I wanted to give that its own little segment. So the name of this segment is Dumb Line from Hell. Like remember when he used to say clothesline from hell for JBL? My God, it's a dumb line from hell. So anyway, That's he says as Red Velvet finishes her promo, and she finished it with bitch ass. JR says she said bitch ass, so you know she's serious. And like, to be fair, I hadn't noticed him at all, and they just, that line really stood out of like, dude, you know, it's not this girl's choice to fucking be part of this feud. You know what I mean? Like, she just wants to be a wrestler. She's been shoved into this thing. She's done the best that she can in the situation that she's in. Arn's just given her the worst warm-up of all fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's fallen asleep. She's going to come out and be energetic after that. Like, that's not, you know... And I'm surprised. Like, I thought JR would 100% be into this.
Do you think...
It's Cody, it's Shaq.
Maybe JR is working as a heel.
But you've got to show that he's a heel.
Maybe that's what they're doing.
Like,
by him just being an asshole.
They have not explained that at all. Besides the fact he's wearing a black hat every week, they've not explained that.
Do you want a like Tony Khan 90s Vince McMahon promo where he's like, you know, wrestling's changing and we're not going to treat you like idiots. JR's a heel.
Yes. Next up, we had Miro, Kip, and Penelope cut a tiny little promo.
Whatever.
I don't mind this. Yeah, it's not as awful as it has been. I think the Miro's loosening up a little bit. I still, after this wedding, I want Miro to get as far away from Kip and Penelope as possible. I think the other thing as well that's worth saying about this is that, like, Kip and Penelope have probably any momentum that they may have had that they had sort of got on their own, which probably isn't a huge amount, has 100% been diminished by just sort of being in the shadow of Miro this whole time. I don't, as much as it's better with Chucky T being involved, and obviously there's a Orange Cassidy angle happening. I assume he'll show up at the wedding and ruin it somehow by doing a thumbs up and pouring orange juice on them or something.
I think there are 5 options. There's that option. There's someone comes out, a female wrestler comes out and says they've been having an affair with Kip, and then that starts a Penelope, that female wrestler feud. There's Miro gets insulted by being the best, or you know, someone says, "Oh, Penelope's been having an affair with Miro," and then Miro trucks Kip Sabian, and they end up in a feud. Or Trent Beretta's not really as injured, and Trent Beretta comes out, and they, you know, Chucky T and Trent Beretta attack Kip and Miro, and that goes on. Or the wedding goes perfectly. That's option 6.
That's my favourite option. I just want to watch a good wedding.
Drama.
I do. I hate drama. It's always the most dramatic people who are fucking constantly screaming that from the hilltops as well. I just hate drama. Why does there have to be so much drama? Next up, we had Hangman Page get a win with a buckshot lariat against Dolph Ziggler's brother. And Nick Naismith?
Yeah,
is that right?
Ryan
No, that's
Nemeth.
Dolph's name. Nemeth. Ryan Nemeth. Yeah, he was not bad for a first run. You know, like, very Dolph. Like, you could tell immediately that, like, they were related, and I mean, obviously they've got the same surname, but just from the way their looks and everything, and even the way he sort of wrestled and his persona was very sort of Dolph.
Clearly. I mean, the real story from this was that Matt Hardy turns up and delivers a post-match promo and tries to win Hangman Page's affections for his little stable. No, it was good. Big Money Matt's all right, I guess. So this is obviously the Hangman Page storyline, is that everyone's going to try and sign him to their stable, which is a real good old wrestling storyline.
Yeah, and he shouldn't sign with anyone.
I'm gonna hold out.
No. He doesn't align with another group. He's a cowboy. He's the Lone Ranger. He's the silent sheriff.
He rides.
He's the lost gunslinger. Yeah, 100%. That like, you take the piss. That's who he is. That's his story. That's been his character basically from day one. Even when he was in the elite, he was kind of the outsider in that. Yeah, I know, but he was the outsider. You'd forget that he was in the Elite all the time because it was Kenny and the young cucks hanging out all the time. And, you know, like Hangman would be like, oh, yeah, I'm in this group as well. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. The best character for him, 100%, is the good guy, but lonely gunslinger, you know, like if it was a TV show, is it like The Mandalorian? He's just going from town to town.
I don't watch The Mandalorian
problems,
because I'm too cool. But I agree with you, absolutely. That's the best character. I just think that, you know.
Yeah, like he can team up with people from time to time. It's like the old Incredible Hulk show where he just go from town to town, you know? But he can't settle down with anyone because he's just not capable of doing it emotionally. He just can't.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
I'm just saying, like, that's why I was very happy that he didn't join the Dork Order, and I was very happy that he hasn't said yes to Matt, the Big Money Matt. And also, what a terrible fucking stable that would be. Private Party and Hangman Page. It just doesn't make that makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. He definitely shouldn't.
Like, imagine if those four weirdos all walked out at the same time. And you just flicked over to the channel is Hangman Page, Big Money Matt, and Private Party all standing together. Like, and they're a team? Yeah, they're a team. Why? I don't know. Anyway, I kind of enjoyed this. I always love watching Hangman Page do his stuff. Next up, we get Jungle Boy versus Dax. Jungle Boy gets the win. Oh, Dax from FTR, by the way. Jungle Boy gets Dax to tap out with a crossface. In what was a really great match. What did you think
like
of this
the
one?
best match on Dynamite for Yonks. This was great. Like it looked like Jungle Boy essentially became a star.
Yeah,
like,
it was a breakout
had
match.
Great psychology. It was a great match. Their styles are so different, but they really they work really well against each other. It's like Pokemon, where like certain things are super effective against opposite Pokemons.
I just did the Alan Partridge shrug.
It's yeah, and then ending the match with FTR beating down Luchasaurus and once again Jungle Boy is great because it's a great feud, and I look forward to it continuing.
Yeah, this was really the beginning of this feud. They'd kind of been building it up for a few weeks, so it had actually been a bit lame, I think. And this was not lame's a bit harsh, but it just hadn't really interested many people, I don't think. And this match, 100% did, even right down to the stip of Luchasaurus being handcuffed to. I can never remember the actual guys' names. There's Dax and Cash, is it? Yeah. Being handcuffed to Cash and Tully Blanchard. And you knew that, like, as soon as they got unchained, that they were going to be dastardly in, a very Horseman kind of way. Remember when we had a Horseman watch?
You might have been wrong about that one.
Yeah, I was so wrong. Like, I don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
It'll happen next week now. Anyway, I love this. That theme that the Tarzan Boy, I think it's called, theme that Tony Khan bought for Jack Perry is phenomenal. I mean, it's just as much for Tony Khan as it is for for Jack Perry. It's that there's going to be some iconic wrestling moments when crowds get back and that music hits, and 15,000 people start doing the like, it's just going to be phenomenal. I'm thinking England in particular.
No, it'll be great.
They're very good with the singing and the chanting over there.
Good for you, UK.
Yeah, well done, UK. Well, the FTR beat down Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and then the worst wrestlers in the company came down for the save. I just had to get that little dig in there on Marco Stunt and FTR. Not FTR. What are they called? SCU. Next up, now I need a statement from you saying you're part of Team Taz. Team Taz cut a promo And they seem to have turned communist and are against the commercialization of wrestling because they smashed the shit out of a merchandise stand. Is this an official stand from Team Taz, or is it just
we talked about this in a WCW episode where the Nasty Boys and Public Enemy, I believe it was on Clash of Champions, it went through an improbably placed merch stand where they like over-explained that it was a merch stand, and there were like 3 bits of merch on it, and you're like, the fuck, like why? You know, you can just.
It was in a different.
You can just have
by the
tables.
time they got
like it was in a place that like no one could get to. It was right near the stage. It was fantastic. It's like we just have tables. Who cares? And you forget that tables in wrestling now are the most like obvious normal things, but used to be like, you know, Sabu and Public Enemy were the innovators of tables in wrestling. This was felt to me to be a very like early WCW thing where they had bothered explaining that they're just, you know, they could have just had tables and been like, oh, that's catering or whatever, just had the tables. But instead they explained. And I love it. To that level of detail.
Yeah. There's a lot of... I study writing. I don't know if I've ever said that on the podcast, but I study writing, and there's a lot, like... all the things that you're not meant to do in any form of storytelling happen in wrestling pretty much in every fucking segment. Like, people are constantly telling you what's going to happen or is happening. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you never just come in on the action. It's very rare. And even if you do, there's always someone going, there's something happening out the back. Like, it never just cuts to the action and you find out what's happening. And this was one of those promos where, like, Taz was explaining what was happening. And then, like, the wrestlers were telling us while you were watching it, oh, yeah, you think you're a tough guy? Well, watch me as I throw this poor little dude into the truck. You know, it was like, okay. I suppose it, like, helps them get over as bad guys.
Was the
that they've just beaten up a bunch
the guy
of
into the truck a
dorks
throwback to Kevin Nash throwing Rey Mysterio?
Ray Mysterio,
Cool.
I thought the
I'm
same
into it.
thing. Yeah.
Can Kevin Nash turn up? Was that? Are they alluding that Kevin Nash
If it is
coming?
great.
Please.
No, God, it's the last thing we need. It's the last thing we need is for Kevin Nash to show up, and unless he's eating lasagna, but just ask him. Unless he's eating lasagna and talking about himself, I'm not interested. No. If you don't know what that is, check out Matthew Gregg, who does Botchamania. Check out his Twitter. He will mention it once every 3 days, and you'll find out. You'll find out what it is. Next up, we had Britt Baker get a win over... Is it Shayna or Shanna? Because there was about 5 different pronunciations of this woman's name.
You've got to choose one, and that's the one we use forever. I was hoping you'd go Shana, but yeah, sure.
Shanana.
Shanana like banana.
Shanana-rama.
This
Shanana-rama.
was ace. I love
Let's go
this.
with Shanana-rama.
This was really good.
Yeah, Britt Baker's turned her mandible claw into the lockjaw. Has it been happening for a while? This is the first time I noticed it, where she puts on a plastic glove and does the mandible claw.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's called lockjaw. It's great.
It's the first time. I think it's happened before, but at least it had happened so long ago that I've forgotten it. Whereas I really noticed it here. This was great. I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was like a good, above average TV match. And she's just like so good. Like, they actually have somehow grown a really great women's division, which was highlighted by the fact that Thunder Rosa has a run in at the end of the match, and it's fucking cool.
Yeah, it was a really good match. Rebel's more fun to watch each week as well. I just want to give her a shout out. She's doing her laugh, her maniacal dorky laugh is just.
You've really zeroed in on Rebel lately, or Reba as I like to call her.
Yeah, well, she. I don't know. Even Tony and JR didn't know what to call her. Is it Rebel? Is it Reba? she's just great. Like she's very unselfish in her performances, and she only like gets very limited time to make any sort of impact. But when she does, she does. She's great. Like putting makeup on Shanana Rama when she was like in the corner, and it's just, I don't know, they've got a really good dynamic, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, my lady Thunder Rosa came out, and holy shit, did Britt Baker and Rebel disappear quickly when Thunder Rosa came out. I guess Thunder Rosa did look like she was dressed to go to Broadmeadow Shopping Square. That's just Adidas tracksuit pants and a jean jacket. That's pretty much the uniform. She looks cool, man. Where I live.
She is cool.
She's always cool. Hey, I love it. I'm just saying. She would go down well in Broady. Next up, we had Sammy and MJF promo. Sammy isn't playing. What did you think of this?
Yeah, Sammy's not playing. I don't know. It's fine. We'll just see where it goes. Like, all these things are always like, you just see where it goes. Like, I just don't... There's not enough heels in AEW for the heels to be feuding with the heels.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I actually thought this was the first... Not the first. I mean, I like Sammy, but this is kind of the first promo in a while, let's say it that way, where I was like, oh. I don't know if promos are Sammy's strongest suit. I think he's still kind of learning that. And I think he held his own with MJF in this. Like, I thought it was actually pretty good acting, and especially from MJF, where he sort of changed his tone to like, hey, buddy. And then Sammy was like, I don't believe you. Like, you fooled everyone else, but you haven't fooled me. And then when MJF changed his tone immediately to like, hey, man, you really want to fucking play like this? Like, Sammy held his own with that, where he was like, I'm not playing. It's like, I thought this was really good. And I could see these two like having this feud for 10, 15,
well,
20
there's a
years
good chance
on AEW. Yeah, they've got really good chemistry. I was sort of like, it's good. This is like moving this story forward, because me watching the Inner Circle fight each other for another, like, I haven't hated it, but I don't really want to see any more of it. I think we're at the point where, like, that bubble needs to break somehow. Either, like, it splits in half, or Sammy leaves, or something. Something's got to happen. And I know they're doing episodic television that they, want to keep people watching, so that's fine, but it needs to happen pretty soon, I reckon.
That's fair. I agree.
Did you notice they announced a women's tournament?
I did, an eliminator tournament, opening with Riho versus Serena Deeb. We haven't seen Riho since the pandemic. So it was really quick. It's for the number one contendership. Is that right? Right. Cool. Yeah. Well, we both love tournaments, so and it'll give. Better be on this Dynamite. Match, I think, certainly is.
Yeah. Even if you're going to do it one match at a time, I mean, it would be better if it probably wasn't, but even if you're only doing it one match at a time, make sure you put them all on Dynamite, so it's a big deal once you actually get to the number one contender fighting the champion, right? Like, if all those matches happen on Dark...
Yeah, please, people,
cares.
Please.
TK, please. I'll stop teasing you about Vampire Weekend if you do that. Next up, we get a quick little Elite promo before the main event. All I got here is the Don's bandages are fucking hilarious. And then there was this, like, it was alluded the Young Bucks didn't beat up Don. Because Kenny's like, we need to talk. And then Don Callis appears and goes, look what you did. And then Matt says, we did that.
So Don's beaten up himself. Don's single white femaling Kenny Omega at the moment. No, single white femaling's different.
I think he might have.
Yeah, I think that's what's
Fight Clubbed himself.
Maybe not quite Fight Club. We'll find the right movie and we'll get back to you all.
No, when Edward Norton, like when it goes to the spoilers for Fight Club, 25-year-old film, but when at the end where you see Edward Norton beat himself up.
So, like, he thinks he's like he doesn't know who he is. Whereas Don Callis is doing this to frame someone. He's actually Edward Nortoning. He's no, he's not primal fearing. That's different. We need to go and consider this. A movie where someone
it's
gets
some
framed.
kind of an Ed Norton film. We haven't worked out which one.
Oh, it's Gone Girl. He's Gone Girling them. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
The young Bucks are enough. Ben Affleck, and have been having an affair with Kenny Omega. Anyway, it gets real confusing if you try and really force it to fit in.
Right, it's starting to get real complicated. So the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers are going up against 4 of the Dark Order. The Young Bucks get the win with a Meltzer driver here. Meltzer driver, sorry. What did you think of? There's a lot in this. I haven't sort of mentioned everything that happened, but what did you think of this?
I think this was a good match, and I think I know that you like to bully the Dark Order. But I think, like, you're crazy if you don't accept it. Like, that they went in and, like, the Dark Order sucked for their whole existence almost, except for brief moments where Brody Lee was cool.
I don't know what you're talking about. I preferred them before Brody Lee got there. That's my favourite Dark Order period. Remember when Evil Uno would sit on the throne of
one of the worst
goons?
That was repug in every way.
I thought that looked cool. To be honest,
I think that looks like something out of like a psychosexual Stanley Kubrick film. But yeah, well, we're learning a lot about Uncle Damien today.
Fucking cool.
I don't know why you've gone from Doctor to Uncle, but anyway.
No, I don't like Uncle. Let's go back to Doctor, please.
I think they're
unless it's coming from an Indigenous Australian, I do not want to be called Uncle. Or if my sister has a baby at any point. That's the only 2 times I want to be called Uncle.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, Uncle makes you sound like someone who had a kids TV show in the 80s and now is in prison for,
Yeah, and Damo alongside with it just sounds so fucking, you know what I mean? It's like, is Uncle Damo coming to Christmas? He's never coming to a Christmas ever again, kids. That's what that sounds like.
Well, I would say that like Evil Uno and Stu Grayson are actually really good in the ring, and it's nice to like, particularly Evil Uno. Evil Uno's sick. And they work significantly better as not heels. Like when they're trying to be like serious evil fellows, it's a bit silly. When they're like, sympathetic baby faces, it kind of works. And like Reynolds is probably the one I care the least about, but seems relatively good. And John Silver in a few years, like there's potential that he's Daniel Bryan, like that he just has that run where he's, oh, look at you. This is the one short underdog that you're like, no, he's not precious to me.
I just raised my eyebrows when you said Daniel Bryan. I mean, like, you're throwing around a future...
Tiny, muscular, great wrestler.
He's not as tiny as little John Silver.
He's got comedic chops.
Anyway,
he's fantastic.
I've got things to say about this match. You keep going, and then I'll have my little 2 cents.
I think John Silver's going to, like, be a big deal for a period of time. I think there's going to be, like, a storyline where, like, he's going to really, like, be the best thing on the show. Because sometimes he just happens to be the best thing on the show, but I think they're going to actually do something at some point. And I think, like, the heels look really good, which they should. And, and then having Moxley come in at the end and plant Kenny, and Kenny losing his shoe was wonderful in every way. Made Moxley look sick. Made Kenny look like such a massive fuckwit.
Yeah. I thought it was great to see, for me personally, who didn't get to see any of them wrestle together in Japan, to see the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers wrestle together was really cool. I think that was a special little treat for all of us. As far as the Dark Order are concerned, I've got written down here, this is the most I've enjoyed them in ring. I think we probably need to see more of them in ring. Like, I mean, I know they've done a lot recently, but I like the idea of them starting to... JR actually said something in this match that was like, oh, okay, Yeah, I agree with that. Like you're starting to see individual personality. It's a huge group, and some of the people are starting to, their personalities are sort of like growing out of that group, and some are going to take longer than others. And I agree with that. And it's kind of interesting to see who's like breaking out first and who isn't. And it'll be really interesting to see 5 years time, who are the, and I think you're probably right with John Silver. He's obviously like a really charismatic dude and could be quite easily turned into an underdog championship story quite easily. His run in this match where he took out all 4 of the elite guys in a row when he got the hot tag was phenomenal. And I really like Evilino as well. I think he's got like a lot of upside. There is a part of me that's like, why is Colt Cabana in this if he's not doing anything? I still feel like he's a big enough name to have in the mid-card on his own. I know him and Brody were good mates and stuff, so it's very unlikely that he will ever leave the Dark Order now. But, and obviously they've got a huge amount of sympathy in real life, with everything that happened with Brody Lee and stuff as well. So I just didn't... It was kind of a joke and kind of wasn't. I just was really desperate for for Hangman Page to not join the Dark Order. Now that hasn't happened, I'm quite happy to get on board, the hype train with the Dark Order. I have another dumb line from hell where JR said when Stu Grayson was on the top rope, how do you like your stew from the top rope?
Look, at least he didn't say brother of Dick.
Ray Phoenix is a mutant, right? He's not a human being.
He's not a human being.
He can't be. He the shit that he does when he jumped off the top rope. I think he got both of the Bucks with a kick each. I mean, how high he got off that rope for a start was ridiculous. And then when he did the suicide dive through the ropes and landed on one of the bike racks, the AEW hoarding bike racks, and then just sat on top of it. Like anybody else, that would have been, misjudged his dive and he's broken his fucking arm and he's out for 14 weeks. And then Ray Phoenix just sat on top of it like, yeah, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. Like,
it's outrageous.
I've never seen anyone, and like this includes like people that I adore, like Rey Mysterio, and like I've never seen, Billy Kidman was one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid, and he used to do stuff that I thought was like just, superhuman. Ray Phoenix is this term gets thrown around a lot, next level, but he's the next level of luchador wrestling that I there's just no one who can touch him. I really like. I mean, I know it was only a little 30-second run on, but I just want to see so much more of him. And I love the Lucha Bros, but I kind of want to see him as a singles competitor at some point as well.
Yeah, no, I think he's amazing.
But yeah, I really enjoyed all of this, and just thought it was great. Even the Bucks announcement of the tag tournament that's happening next week, and then the stipulation that they're in it, and if they win, they can choose their opponent, and then very obviously sort of calling their shot of like if they do that, it'll be the Good Brothers that they'll wrestle at Revolution.
This is classic AEW, isn't it? Where they just have to make any kind of tournament a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. I love it.
Yeah. The first time I heard it, I was like, what? I actually rewound and then was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So if anyone wins, anyone other than the Bucks win, they're the number one contender. If the Bucks win, they get to choose their opponent. Yeah. But it is more complicated than it needs to be. But I'm looking forward to that. And Beach Bash next week already, that looks phenomenal.
It certainly does.
Yeah. We're all done as far as Dynamite is concerned. You've got the do you want to explain to me what the AEW awards are?
Yes, we'll quickly go to them. So they're just a thing on Bleacher Report that Australians couldn't vote for. sorry about that. Australians couldn't vote for, so we didn't vote. But anyway, I didn't watch it, but here's the thing. Let's go through it quickly. There's 11 awards. Best moment on the mic. The nominees are MGF, We Deserve Better speech. Cody Rhodes accepts dog collar match. John Moxley accepts Inner Circle invitation. Brandy Rhodes confronts Jade Cargill. And Orange Cassidy debates Chris Jericho. Who would you vote for?
Orange Cassidy.
I agree with that. The winner was Cody Rhodes accepts dog match. Dog collar match, which fair enough. It was good.
Dog match.
Dog match.
Yeah.
Al Snow had one of those with the big boss man.
Cody Rhodes is so good he could wrestle a dog.
Sorry. The biggest surprise where we've got the nominees are Matt Hardy's debut. Jake the Snake Roberts confronts Cody. Brody Lee arrives as the Exalted One. Sting's AEW debut. And Miro revealed as Best Man. What do you got?
Sting.
That's what won, and that's the right answer. Breakout Star Male. They've got Sting. No. Nominees are Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, Eddie Kingston, John Silver. Who you got?
Oh, Breakout Star. Fuck. You probably got to go. If it's Breakout, you've probably got to go with John Silver. Only because he broke out the biggest. Like, maybe. I think MJF, Orange Cassidy, and who was the other nominee?
No, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, Eddie Kingston, and John Silver.
Oh, Eddie Kingston. Yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah. It's either Eddie Kingston or John Silver. Only because I'd probably go with John Silver because Eddie Kingston probably had more of a reputation previously, but it's a toss-up between those two, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd probably go Eddie Kingston just because, he went from not having a job to, pawning his wrestling boots.
And at the top of the card and all that kind of thing. Yeah, probably if I had a gun to my head, I'd say Eddie Kingston.
Well, you do. Surprise! The winner was Darby Allin anyway, and Damo's dead. So I'll just Uncle Damo's gone. We'll tell the kids. Breakout Star female nominees: Hikaru Shida, Anna Jay, Tay Conti, Big Swole, Penelope Ford.
I don't really like any of those nominations. Who was the first one?
Hikaru Shida.
It has to be Hikaru Shida. She's been the women's champ the whole year.
I think for Breakout Star, Big Swole, or Penelope Ford, to be honest. But the winner was Hikaru Shida anyway. I don't know if Hikaru should be in that category. I think when you're the champion, it's a bit weird. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Biggest beatdown. Nominees: Inner Circle jumps Orange Cassidy. Dark Order attacks Nightmare Family. Nyla Rose puts Riho and Hikaru Shida through tables. Brian Cage sneak attacks John Moxley, and the Nightmare Family and Inner Circle brawl.
I'm going to go Brian Cage, John Moxley.
Agreed, but the Inner Circle jumps on Orange Cassidy won.
Yeah. Is that when they hit him with like the orange juice and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
The High Flyer Award, I'm not going to even go through the nominees. The winner's Ray Fenix, as it should be, and that's
fucking
who everyone's
it should
voting
be.
for.
No one else should be even nominated. Who else was nominated? Is that out of interest?
Ray Fenix, Mark Quinn, and Nick Jackson. I would and Park.
Nick Jackson's pretty good.
I'd argue that Park hasn't been around. Nick Jackson's, barely wrestles, and when he does, he's in a tag team. Mark Quinn's in a tag team.
Oh, Ray Phoenix wins it every time. Yeah. But it's interesting to see who they put in there. But anyway,
the sort of classic Oscar award of hardest moment to clean up after. Nominees: Orange Cassidy drops orange juice on the Inner Circle, the parking lot brawl, the bunkhouse match, Big Swole dumps garbage on Britt Baker, and Damo's underpants after another meandering John Moxley promo.
Is it my underpants after a John Moxley promo?
It's the parking lot brawl, you goof. Good grief.
That's what I would have actually picked, but you put the joke one in there. I had to follow it up. I would have actually said the orange juice.
Well, that would actually be the hardest thing to clean up after. That if that's what the award actually is.
Isn't that the award? What is the actual award?
The hardest moment to clean up after. Like the parking lot brawl you'd just be like throwing stuff in a bin, whereas the orange juice thing is a nightmare. You've got heaps of different factors.
I suppose there's the economic collateral cleanup and stuff as well, though. Like people have got to get their insurance companies involved and stuff in the car park. Like AEW maybe if they don't have public what's it called public insurance. What's the thing?
They definitely have those insurance. Actually, maybe they don't because it just doesn't matter to Tony Khan at all because he's so fucking rich.
I know. Just buying songs. I mean, that's crazy. Just buy a song. It's awesome. He obviously watched ECW as a younger man.
Yes.
And knows the power of a real song rather than...
This is a bumper edition. Biggest what the fuck moments. Nominees: Cody Rhodes steel cage moonsault, Sammy Guevara hit by a golf cart, Kenny Omega wins AEW World Championship and walks out of AEW, Bloody Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida, Young Bucks frog splash off the stadium railing.
What was the first one, sorry?
Cody Rhodes steel cage moonsault.
I'm going to say... What was the second one?
Sammy Guevara hit by a golf cart.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that one.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Bloody Britt Baker. Kenny Omega leaving AEW for 2 minutes.
Can I say, if it wasn't for the commentators explaining what was happening, I wouldn't have known that that's what was happening.
Yes. No, you
I wouldn't have
that.
known that Kenny Omega was going to impact. He was running out with Don Callis, but it wasn't explicit that, oh, fuck, he's going to impact. That. That's what, I knew that he was definitely leaving AEW and going to Impact, then it would have been a big what the fuck moment. But I don't think anyone actually knew that until the next night or whatever when they showed up on Impact.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you broadly. The LOL award, that's the Laugh Out Loud award. Oh, shit. Oh, no.
Is that what LOL means?
Oh, God, I've just accidentally got out of the awards. Jesus. Fuck.
Oh, no.
Hold on, we're getting there. We're getting back. It's all right. Don't stress. Nominees for the Laughing Out Loud award. Jericho and MJF. Britt Baker, LeDinner
I was going to say, just in general, those two guys?
Britt Baker waxes Tony Schiavone. Young Bucks kick MJF into a pool and Inner Circle Vegas trip.
Oh, God, it's definitely not the last one.
Agreed.
How did that make it in there? It's Chris and MJF by a mile.
I think Britt Baker and Tony Schiavone. But I agree. No. Anyway,
Britt's done a lot of really funny stuff. That's not one of them. Her ripping off the Hangover, the 40-year-old virgin. I'm sorry, it is not.
Her ripping hair off Tony Schiavone's chest was pretty good. The Young Bucks kick MJF into a pool somehow won this.
What?
Yeah. So people remember that.
What? Hang on the fucking boat. I
don't know.
On the Jericho cruise.
Maybe. I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, that's when it was. That was the birth of Britt Baker, that episode.
Yeah.
Remember when she...
I do.
Talked about Tony Schiavone working at Starbucks. Anyway, next one.
Best Twitter follow, MJF, Orange Cassidy, Dr. Britt Baker, Nyla Rose.
I'd follow all these guys on Twitter. I'm going to go with MJF.
I would also do that, but Nyla Rose won.
Nyla Rose is pretty fun.
Bleacher Report pay-per-view moment of the year. The Stadium Stampede. Moxley wins AEW Championship. Shida wins AEW Women's Championship. Omega and Page defeat the Young Bucks. Darby Allin wins TNT title from Cody. The Young Bucks win tag team
my
title.
favourite is Stadium Stampede. I think it'll probably be John Moxley. Oh. Yeah,
it's Stadium Stampede, which is the right answer.
That was so fun, man. I could watch that again now. If someone was like, hey, you want to watch the Stadium Stampede match right now? I'd be like, yep, cool.
we need to return to our pods.
Oh, right, in our real life pods. Yeah, that's probably right. I like being here with you guys so much, though. You know what I mean? I have to do fucking boring work shit as soon as I finish doing this. So I'm trying to spread it out as long as I can. All right, that is it in a absolutely fucking bumper episode of AEW and Impact Weekly. I don't know why I put Impact in there. It's barely Impact. Anyway, we keep getting downloads and listens and like moving up in different charts and stuff, and it's all bizarre, and it's all thanks to you guys. Matt and I can't thank you enough for just telling people and recommending and all that kind of stuff. You can follow us on the socials with WrestleWolfPod. You can send us an email at WrestleWolfPodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, but until next time, Pepe is dead, brother friends.